Hello everyone, I'm here today with a flip-through video. I am showing the second half of my New York City album from 2019, and I think this is where I left off on the first half video. So we're picking up at the Met, and this is just a brochure that is not adhered in there. It completely comes all the way out. If somebody wants to look at it for any reason, they can. And then these are just some photos from kind of a miscellaneous area along a hallway as we were going towards the Impressionist area, because that was pretty much our big first stop when we were there. That's always one of my favorite areas, and one of my friends really wanted to see all the Monets that they have, so it was a good way for us to start and then be able to move on to some other things. So I'm gonna flip there. So I didn't take as many photos in here because I've seen it before. That was my favorite place when I was at the Met the last time. So I didn't need a ton of new photos for that. I will say I have been to the Egyptian area at the Met before, not as much depth as we did this time. So I have pictures previously, but nothing like what I have here. So I did take a lot more this time. So here you can kind of tell this is the start of that. And then they had little buttons that if you spent, I think it was more than $10. If you spent more than $10 in the gift shop, you got one for free. And there were like 5 different colors, and I chose a yellow one, and I was able to use that for the start of the Egyptian area. And this selfie, it's not even a selfie, a photo. I was walking through this area. There were 2 gentlemen in there who asked me to take their photo with their camera, which I did. And then I thought, well, here's an opportunity. So I asked them if they would return the favor, and they did. My friends were off doing something else. They were in a different area. So it was nice that there were some kind strangers there who would take my photo with some mummies, you know, as you do. So here's more from the Egyptian area. I find it fascinating. So I was really glad that we got to spend some more time in here. And then here I have another flip. I know there was a process video for this one, so this may look familiar. And then I have just a 3x12 insert here. And then on to the rest of us, my Eye of Horus here. I was glad I was able to use that as well. And I think the colors matched pretty well with all this. And some more from that area. Like I said, I took a lot of photos. This is probably 3/4 of what I took actually made it in here. And then the big temple area. And then when we were done at the Met, because Central Park is literally right behind it, we thought, well, we're here, let's go explore. And we decided we were going to do Belvedere Castle, specifically because I had been to Central Park before, but not to Belvedere Castle. It was under construction, so I didn't get to see it, so we decided to do that. I also have this map in here. This is completely free floating as well. This is not adhered, so anybody can take that out and look at it if they choose. So I love this card that actually says Central Park. So I have just some photos here from around the different walkways and the pond. And then this was right as we came up the hill. This is kind of a map that you see when you approach Belvedere Castle. And this is actually one of my favorite double page layouts that I did for this album. Since I had never been there, it was a really fun experience because it was the first time for all 3 of us. So we did have a stranger take our photo there. And then we have some photos from around the castle, and then this page, I love it. I used my fuse tool to create a special pocket down here, so the page protector did not come like this. I did that myself, so I just measured it off where I wanted it, put all those in there, sealed it, and I used the sequins to match these colors. And then I have yet another brochure in there that people can just take out. And then I had a few sparkly stars that were left from here, and I decided to drop them in the big pocket, and they just kind of stay in there, and I love the way it looks. And here we are still at the castle, just some signs and plaques that are out front there. And then when we were done, my friend here, she has had both of her knees redone over the years and does pretty well, But when we were done walking through Central Park, it was a lot. We'd already done the Met, we'd done Grand Central, we'd done a bunch of stuff already that day. And she said, you know what, I can't take any more walking. So rather than try to do the subway stairs and go back on the subway, we decided to just do a lift instead and have an easy ride back with no stairs. So we kind of hung around our hotel room for a little bit and just kind of re-showered, got dressed and whatever before it was time to go out to dinner. We wanted to do dinner, like a fancy dinner kind of, before the second night of Cursed Child. So my friend that lives in New York had recommended this place and we tried it and it was fantastic, like best recommendation ever. I would totally eat there again if you were in New York. It's not directly on Times Square, but it's close enough. It's close to a lot of the theaters on Broadway. So if you wanted to go somewhere before a show, this is a great choice. And it's not quite as expensive and not quite as crazy as some of the things that are right in the heart of things. So it's an excellent choice. And if you love Italian food, you can't go wrong. So I was just talking about my dinner there. This truffle oil ravioli was some of the best I've ever had. It was fantastic. And so then here we are. This is my friend that lives in New York that met us. And so this is night 2 of Cursed Child. And so I have my ticket again and some pictures that I snuck of the stage. They were mostly just at the end. It was too hard. This was at the beginning of that second night. These are at the end. It's too hard and, you know, they frown upon it if you do it during the show, and I wanted my phone off, so that was fine. But I was able to catch some photos right at the end. And then these are just some layouts I put together with photos that I found online from the show, just to talk a little bit more about the experience of going. And I have a quote here from Draco from the show. And then this one is focused more on Albus being a Slytherin, which is a huge component of the play. If you read it beforehand, you know, and then if you see the play, you know, being quote unquote stuck in Slytherin is a big deal until he comes to realize that, you know what, maybe being a Slytherin isn't so bad. And then after that, this was our second attempt at Top of the Rock, because we went the previous night and it rained and they turned us away, saying, you know what, you won't see anything and it's not really safe to be up there. So we had to rebook for this night, and this was much clearer skies, beautiful weather. We really couldn't ask for better than what we got, so it worked out very well. And then they had this, I have to show it, I think this was $1 that you could buy in the gift store there, and it shows you the whole skyline. Now obviously this is better during the day, and I had already been there during the day, so I've seen it that way. Now my friends have only seen it at night, and I would love for them to go back and see it during the day, because it's a completely different experience and you can orient yourself much better during the day than you can at night. So that's our ticket that we have there. I just wanted to include it. And then I did some smaller shots in the 3x3 pockets here, and then I did some sequins here as well. Used my fuse tool to close it up, and it's very patriotic looking. I'll take it. So some more shots here, and then I love this bigger one. Some of these windows here and lights had purple tint to them. So I thought, well, that's a perfect excuse to work in some purple, because otherwise you don't get that a whole lot in scrapping. All right, now this is kind of a unique layout. I decided to use some song lyrics. This is from a song by the Lumineers, Life in the City. And I just thought it was so appropriate because it mentions Manhattan and that life there is not pretty, but you can't take it away. And that's how I feel. I love New York. I love to visit. I would never want to live there, but I love to visit. And that exhilarating feeling that I get when I'm there, nobody can take that away. So I thought that was pretty appropriate. So here we are on our last day, and we started the morning by going to Battery Park, because we knew the first thing we wanted to do was the Statue of Liberty, to ensure that we had enough time to get that done, get to Ellis Island, and then catch our plane later that night. So I used some sequins again with my fuse tool. I did a screenshot of our subway route. I like to do that when I travel. And then there were some lovely boats down in Battery Park, docked right off the shore here, and so we took our time strolling through there and looked at the lovely boats on the water. So here's us walking through the park, another sailboat. And then we were able to get tickets. There was not a long line, luckily, that early in the day to get on the ferry. So we were able to get tickets on the next ferry that was available and get right on over to the Statue of Liberty. And this is an acrylic piece from Bramble Fox. They had, I think, 2 different New York sets, and I bought them both. And this is one of the pieces that came in there. And as you can see, look at how my pages are standing up. This album, man, this sucker is full to the brim. It's not going to close properly. You can close it, but it looks like a duck bill, like this, you know? So I'm considering I may have to cut like 5 or 6 of these layouts, but the trouble is, which one do I get rid of? I like them all. We'll see what happens. But for now, we'll just continue looking at them all. So here's our ticket from the ferry and entering the Statue of Liberty. And then I had this scrap of paper that looked like the rays of the sun coming out, and I thought that was perfect for her. That's another acrylic piece from Bramble Fox. And then this was a postcard I bought in one of the gift shops, and so I just used that on one side. And then this is looking back at Manhattan from the Statue of Liberty. So I loved the views there, and I wanted to include those. And then, as we did in other photos, we had a stranger take our picture so that we could get ourselves with that beautiful skyline. Some more shots of Manhattan. There's me with it. Love it. One of my other friends there. And then these are some close-ups that I took of the torch. This was from a postcard. And then this is not a postcard. This is actually a photo that was taken. Just having a good camera really helps. So I blew it up as far as I could, you know, before it would start getting grainy, and it came out very nice. And these are just some of the words that are on the pedestal area of the statue. And I just kind of filled it in with lots of different things that were related to New York. And then some more views here. My friend taking a picture. I love to take pictures of people from behind because they don't know you're watching, and they tend to be very casual and relaxed. And I love this one because we took so many pictures there. So it's perfect, just showing us kind of in our natural habitat. And then I chose to do an insert here that had some info on the building of the Statue of Liberty once we got it from France, and it was there, and the island kind of needed to be built up for it. So I have that. And then we decided to go into the new museum. It had just been built like maybe, 6 months before I think we were there. So, you know, everything was in great shape. It was brand new. It was fun to go through there and see some of the old exhibit things that they had that taught me some history I didn't know. If I can get this page to turn, there we go. So yeah, these are some of the things they have in there. So like old casts of the statue and building designs for when they were going to build the pedestal, a bronze kind of mock-up of her face there. And then these were some of the cases in the exhibit. Like I love this Lego Statue of Liberty. So I have that. There's a close-up of her foot and some different models that they had, different renderings, and a nice quote. And then we got to see the original torch because it has been redone, and so the original one is now housed in the museum full-time. So if you're going, you will be able to see that. And when the sun hits it, it's gorgeous. Like these really light up and the color looks really, really good. So if you can get there and experience that, do it. And then we went from there, got on the ferry again, and went over to Ellis Island. I had never been there either, seen it from afar, but never been there. And so we walked around there. Sorry, that's my cat. I didn't take as many photos there. There were exhibits going on, but some of them were quite large. And we knew we didn't have enough time to get through all of them. So it was more taking kind of general pictures of the place and what it was like for people who had decided to immigrate to the United States. So there were some interesting posters and exhibits and things, and I wanted to get some of that info in here. And then this is the story of why people left different countries at different times throughout the years. And so I started at 1942, so about World War II era, all the way up to 2003 was the last thing that they had there. And it was just interesting to read some of that. So I included that. And then I liked this one because on here it's talking about how the United States is supposed to be a melting pot where we take everyone and then it's kind of just a mishmash of whatever, including language. And so I liked this little display that they had here because it said, what languages do we speak in the United States? And not only did it have the United States as a whole, but it had New York, which is where we were. And of course, there's a lot of different cultures there. But then right next to it, my state, Minnesota, we are quite diverse. And so it made me happy to see that we had that on there. We made the board. And then this is the Great Hall area of Ellis Island. And this is where, if you've seen the movie Hitch, where they go and they look at the book that has the pages open, this is where that's located. There are actually some people looking at it right here. I just took a quick glance. You know, I mean, unless it happens to be open to a page where you have a family member. Sorry about that. It doesn't mean much to you. It's just kind of cool to see the names that are in there. So I did look at that. And then just some more views looking out back towards Manhattan here. So this is what the Statue of Liberty looks like from Ellis Island when you're looking across the water there. And then we took our ferry back to Battery Park. Basically just had to get on the subway, go back to our hotel, pick up our bags, and head to the Newark airport. And this was the first time I've ever flown in or out of Newark. I've always flown into JFK previously. So now I know how to do it. I know how to take the train to get to Jersey. And it was actually quite easy, and it was a very relaxing ride on the train. It wasn't bad. So I did take a screenshot of our route so I could see we left from Penn Station, and then there we are in Jersey at Newark. And then on the flight home, I was across the aisle, so these two had the two seats by the window. I was across the aisle from them and had somebody on my right, which was fine. You could see us out the window here. And then just some relaxation, flying home. And then this is one of my favorite cards I've ever had, and I love that I got to use it for this, but it says, NYC is always a good idea. And that is my New York album. I hope you've enjoyed watching me put it together, and now it is finally complete and I can move on to my next project. Thanks for watching.